Hello, I'm Kyle. Welcome back to GivePauSE Hobby, channel where I stop to appreciate the things I love to fill my free time with. So today, in the State of the Hobby episode for the month, first of all, I'm doing away with the songs. I don't like singing on the things anymore, so if someone is really miffed about that, just let me know in the comments, but I don't think anyone's gonna be too broken up that I'm not doing bad covers of obscure things. Well, I guess Hamilton's not that obscure, but that's neither here nor there. We're getting right into the meat and potatoes of things, which is the games that I've been playing, that have hit my table, that have arrived at my front porch, that have been on my mind. And this is going to come back a little bit later, and then probably a bigger amount in another month, some other time. But this just happened to be a crazy deluge of games arriving that were purchased or pre-ordered or backed in some way, as recent as a few months ago to as long as like multiple years ago. And so it's just kind of been a little bit wild that things have coalesced in this way. So there's a lot of newness in the household, and there's still more coming, but my list of things that I'm backing for the future is dwindling, and I'm feeling really good about that. But like I said, that's a conversation for a little bit later. So let's talk about, in rough chronological order, when they came in, and a quick blurb about them. Roco Ranger is a sort of a roll and write Pokemon-esque sort of game. There's a link somewhere around here of me playing it, just a round. It is super challenging, or I'm just really bad at it. I don't know which of those is true, but it's really fun, has some really adorable artwork. I feel like it's really challenging, but again, it could just be that I'm not good at it. It does have the ability to be multiplayer, and then at the end, you kind of like go in tandem through this world, and you still take turns. And at the end, you kind of face off in a little tournament. So no matter how many players there are, eventually there will only be one winner. Now, I'm not sure how it would actually go as a competitive game, because it's not quite a real roll and write, because you're not using the same dice rolls, which means that everyone's turn is separate, and some of those turns are actual battles with the Rocos, which don't take forever, but definitely take longer than not forever. I don't know. It's a pretty fun solo game, even though I have not succeeded at it yet. Next up, Lacrimosa by Devere Games is beautiful and weird and delightful, and it's just, there's so much. Some of my favorite games are the games that every time I play them, I just say aloud, or at least in my head, I just don't have enough time to do everything I want to do. And this is that times 10. There's so much that you want to do in this game. And I know that some folks are hung up on the fact that it's like taking place in it's a 4D game. It's taking place at two different timelines. One, when you're traveling around with Mozart, you know, having him compose things, showing them off, blah, 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 making memories, and then also at the same time, regaling those memories to his wife who survived him, and then also paying for one of two composers to help finish off the Requiem that he never completed. So actually it's kind of like three different things that are happening, and they're not happening at the same time, which I don't know. I think other games do a pretty good job of like breaking down what is happening. Like if a game round is a day or a week or a year, whatever, do a good job of roughly equating what can happen in that time, so it all kind of tracks. And this one just sort of hand waves it and says, well, you have these three different things. We have the deck building part, we have the move around on the map to take action part, and we have the area control part, which is the Requiem part. And we're just gonna give them thematic things that have to do with Mozart and music, and I think it's great. I think I was worried the amount of focus it was getting from other people about how off-putting it was. The theme was so confusing to them. They're like, yeah, it's musical, but I don't understand the rest of it. No, don't worry about it. It's fantastic. It's great. And it's a beautiful, like, stunning production. The game is super fun. The only thing is the little double-sided, or not double-sided, like double layered player boards that the cards are meant to slide into. I had to put like a knife into it and kind of like wiggle it, like wobble it back and forth, just to widen up some of those trays on one of the player boards. The other ones worked fine. The cards went right in, but aside from that, the game is great, and I can't wait to play more of it. Empyreal, Spells and Steam, is a new addition to our household, even though it's not a new game. I ordered the re-release, the reprinting, there it is. And I got the expansion along with it, and it's massive. It's this huge box. I think the same size as Snowdonia, which is also massive, and also about trains. And it's just like really cool. There's just a lot of awesomely like obtuse decisions you have to make, like, do I do this, do I do that? But like in terms of what you're wanting to do, the game is very focused, and for a box as big as it is, it feels streamlined in a way that I wasn't expecting once you get it to the table. Because the problem with boxes that big is they have lots of layers, and you need to use kind of all those layers to get the game to the table and to put it back. But it's a really well designed and laid out box, and I think the game is a lot of fun. So I'm glad that we have it. John Company, 2nd edition. This was one of the more recent purchases, and this was after I did not back it on Kickstarter. I found it online as a Kickstarter reseller, but with free shipping on that, even though the price was a little bit up from what the Kickstarter was, it would have been just about what it was at Kickstarter levels had I had to pay shipping. So I'm really happy. I got the gold or the metal coins. Playing the solo mode is amazing, and I was skeptical about how broad of an experience like PAX Pamir was. It would be like, you know, no pun intended, but it's like the sandbox aspect of the game of all the things that you can do. And I'm like, come on, like, you can say that for any game. Like, oh, look, the person took the lead early or late or whatever. And then I played PAX years ago or Pamir, and just like, oh, there is like a game where the political mood, not the mood, but the thing, the track over here, is on military and gets stuck there, and you don't have those impact icons that change it. Completely changes what is even possible for that era of the game. And sometimes you just watch one of those, man, I can't remember any of the names. I haven't played Pamir in a couple of months, and my brain memory hold all the terms. But the red, I got nothing. The cards you're watching for, and you might watch them just approach, like slowly go down the market as people are trying to get stuff but can't get those icons to move it off of military, so they can't afford anything more than like the very base level ones. Anyways, there's so many different ways that Pamir can go, and John Company feels the same way, but even more. It's I'm in the process of hoping to get my first meat bag game of it this week, which I feel like is going to be even crazier. But even the solo play, like I love playing against Wakan in Pamir. I think the solo mode of John Company is even more engaging. Yeah, it's just a fantastic game. And on a list of like really lavish productions, Lacrimosa and Empyreal, John Company 2nd edition is just remarkable. It's how beautiful it is. So I'm very, very happy. It's a costly, it's a challenging to learn and to teach game, but I'm so excited that it is in the collection. Keep the Heroes Out is a very different beast. This one was back a ways back. I might have lied about the years one. There are a couple upcoming arrivals that I think have been in the works for more than a year, if not almost 2. But I don't think any of these were quite that long. But this has been a little while coming, and it's a deck building cooperative, like kind of tower defense, but you are the monsters and the creeps are the heroes trying to come in and steal all your treasure. And so there are 9 different monsters. I didn't get the Cthulhu expansion because I don't need more Cthulhu stuff. I actually don't have that much. I just don't really care for it all that much. And yeah, there's 9 different monsters of 3 different classes, like attackers, defenders, support. And they're all just the most adorable meeples, which I'm showing you right now. And they each have a totally different starting deck of 10 cards, and then you're buying cards from this market, which are potions you make out of frogs, magic spells you make out of books, and like weapons and stuff you make out of gold. Oh, and beasts or like tameable creatures that you make out of bones. And yeah, so you're going around making these resources, carrying them with your guys, turning them into cards, and also trying to stop whenever these heroes pop up, trying to get rid of them, because the whole mechanic of when they pop, it's like Pandemic, but almost from about a third of the way through, it's almost guaranteed there's going to be an outbreak every single time somewhere, because every time a hero pops up, they have like a thing that happens. They destroy resources, they kill one of your meeples or whatever, and then they search for your meeples, and if they're there, they take out one of them. If there aren't any there, they look for treasure chests, and if there are the number of heroes in the room that equal the level of the treasure chest, they loot it. And anytime a hero goes into a room critically, they unexhaust all the other heroes that are just lying dormant there. So you might have like, no big deal, I have one hero in this room with a 2 treasure chest. But if you have 2 heroes that come in like upstream, if there's nothing left in the room, no meeples, no treasure, they continue on to the next one. And if they loot the treasure, they keep going. And so it's just really super fun. And there's 20 different 20 different scenarios you can play, which adjust they throw like from 2 to many more than 2 cards into the like hero draw deck, and whenever you draw one of the scenario specific ones, something special happens. And I've only played the first one. I played it twice because I got blown out in a spectacular manner after everything was going really well, and then there's one turn was like, nope, and they just like piled through and just kind of wrecked me. So super fun game. I honestly don't know. Turns can kind of be lengthy based on how it goes, because you can play as many cards out of your hands as you want, and there's a mechanic where you can like a push your luck, send a hero to the jail to get 3 extra cards. And you're starting with, you always draw up to 5 at the end of your turns. So you could have 8 cards on your turn, and then there are cards you play, just like other deck builders, that let you draw more cards. So each turn can be kind of lengthy, and also because you might have almost or more than half of your cards you play on a turn are cards you didn't have before that turn started. There's only so much you can do in terms of like planning things out. And even things you have 5 cards in your hand. So it's kind of just like, well, I have a rough idea of what I can do. And I know playing solo, which is the only way I've played it so far, there have been times when I've retconned and be like, oh shoot, I should have done this before that. And as a solo player, that's fine. You can do that all the time. As you add players, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I mean, I'm super excited to try linking up some of these different monster types. But yeah, it's great. The last one on this list is the Great American Mail Race, and this was a spur of the moment, just getting something from Target when I was on errands over Thanksgiving break, and it was on 60% off or more or something like that for 17 bucks. And it was a game that I was interested in for a while, but I was like, I don't really want to pay, even when it was down to like $30, $25. It's like, I have enough games coming in. Obviously, this is true. And, but it was on Black Friday sale. I wasn't out at Black Friday. It was something unrelated. It was still crazy to go to the store, but I wasn't one of the crazy folks getting up at 5 in the morning to do it. And yeah, it's super, like, just silly fun. It's like Ticket to Ride, but with more Take That. I mean, there's a lot of Take That you can do in Ticket to Ride, don't get me wrong, but you are all USPS employees moving packages and letters around the country. And if you ever like share a space for a moment, you can either take a package from someone else and go deliver it and then get the rewards for it, or you can be like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it to this one way out in Alaska, and you can just like, in my mind, I imagine your two like mail trucks are passing, and you just like whip the package out your window and into theirs, and now it's their responsibility. But yeah, it's super fun. It's USPS like what is that called? Licensed, and it has all the different modes of transportation, like the ways you move around, which I think is a really cool system. You have like the roads, the trails, like rivers, and then trains and airports. And so you can only access those trails if you have the right card to do so. And they're color coded, so it's super easy to tell. Like if you want to use the dash trails, you need to have one. They're brown. You need to have one of the brown cards, like the Mule or the Pony Express, or later on the 4x4, which can go on trails or roads, which is awesome. And each of the modes of transportation is a historical mode that was used for USPS. And there's like a little history section in the back of the rule book, which comes as like a 3-page letter inside like an envelope, about the first, like I just assumed there's a rocket in there, and I just assumed that was them being like, haha, wouldn't that be funny? But it's true. Apparently in the 50s, I think, they sent a rocket from a ship, like a submarine, 3,000 letters into a base in Florida. And so I guess they just like launched like without a warhead, naturally, just like to a beach or something. It was like, ka-chunk, and then they go open up the missile and get all the letters out. But yeah, it's a thing that happens. And in the game, it's ridiculous because you get to go from an airport to any space on the board. Anyways, it's a super fun game. You get to stamp with the, like on your progress slip, which is one of the best parts of a fantastic game, which I haven't played in way too long, Inhuman Conditions, where you're essentially, it's like Blade Runner, the game. And you, at the end of it, critically, as the interviewer, you need to decide if the interviewee is human or robot. And you have 2 different stamps, like a little brain or a gear. And it's just like this physical thing you do, and it's important because if you're the robot, if you're the violent cyborg, you need to, like, before that stamp happens, you need to complete your mission and slam your hands on the table, which signifies you just like launching yourself at the interviewer and killing them. So the stamp's not just aesthetic. It's actually part of the timing. Like because the rummaging for the stamp could be when you know, make your attack or whatever. Yeah, so it's a great part of that game. In this, it is definitely more aesthetic, but because there are multiple things you're scoring, you're tracking, you know, you have letters, packages, and postcards, and then you have the regions, and then you have a couple of bonuses, like was it same day air, or did it come from your hometown, or was it fragile and you didn't use air traffic? Then you stamp however many things apply. So it might be like letter, same day air, from Midwest, which is my hometown, but once you get used to the layout of the thing, it really kind of seems like you're in an old-timey post office, because you're just like, and then you like put the stamper away. That was how we signified it was someone else's turn. You move the stamper. But yeah, like cheapest of all the games on my list, most spur of the moment, most recent purchase, and on par with the levels of craziness that some of the others, just with my wife and I and my parents, just having a ton of fun. But yeah, that's what I've been playing, of what's been on my mind. It took a little bit longer than I was expecting. But anyways, the conversation for this month is a little bit of one, and hopefully not a huge, long, rambling thing of another. But first of all, Kickstarter, GameFound, backer kit, whatever it is. If you're like me, you probably have had many of those in the past. And for a long time, I thought it was, both my wife and I kind of agreed, like it's just sort of like buying a gift for your future self. If you have the expendable income to put towards a game that sounds great, you put it in there, and from 6 months to 2 years later, a thing arrives and you're like, woo, I totally forgot about this. I mean, in the intervening months you have those updates and all that, and to some extent I still do find it magical, that act of like giving a gift to your future self in that way. But I've just, like, the magic is sort of worn off as well, for a couple of reasons. One, by the time the game arrives, I am never sure, what it's actually going to be. There's lots of time. I mean, a great example, Marvel United famously had, I don't think, any gameplay videos in its first campaign. And I complained about it, other people complained about it. I still wound up getting it because I was like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be fun, and I love it. I really do love Marvel United. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great game for, depending on what modes you play in it, for families or for kids, but it is still more than enough challenge for gamers. And I'm really glad that I backed it. And the amount of the X-Men one that I backed, I love the Marvel United collection that I have. But there have been other ones that by the time they come in, it's just not, I've never been super burned, except for one thing I got as a Christmas present for my brother years ago, that the creator just never, I mean, it's really sad. It sounds like it had essentially like a mental breakdown over how difficult the process was, which is awful. And one of the first times I really saw the bad side of crowdfunding, because I'd heard about it, and I was like, it's like pre-ordering. But for some people and some companies, it's not, and they don't have their game plan laid out enough. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know who I'm going to be when the game arrives. I don't know if I'm going to be in that mindset. And as crazy as that is to think, board games are like this heirloom quality entertainment, that you have to be in the right mindset, the right mood, the right emotional state, is true. And I would like to imagine that for the games that I love, I'm not ever going to go so far abroad from where I am now, that so far afield that I'm not going to be up for a game of Root or whatever down the road. But I don't know that. And much more so for a game I've never played. I've watched other people play, I've watched people talk about, and then it finally arrives, and I don't know if I'm the person who wants to be playing it. But also, it's with just like my life, and there are games that I want that are coming out now. Lacrimosa, or I totally forgot, Ahoy is another one. I pre-ordered when it was, available over the summer, and that was a pretty short turnaround. That it's just difficult for me to get through all these games. Maybe when the kids are older, I'll be able to get through games more, but right now it's like, I am not keeping up. Anyways, so I'm dropping that down, and I'm excited for it. I'm genuinely, every time I am deleting, I have a spreadsheet. I have all the games that I've purchased each year, and one column is like incoming games. And every time I can delete a row because a game has hit my doorstep and that list is getting shorter, it's a really good feeling, because I don't want to be in a place, I've just changed, I guess. We're talking about who I'm going to be down the road, who I was back then. Same thing. Who I was back then, I loved having a list of things that at some point future me was going to be able to enjoy. Now, I'm not as interested in that. because it feels more like the kind of gift you're not super excited about, but you feel like you need to be excited enough about it because you're getting it from someone you care about. And that's coming from, I love board games. There's nothing that comes in that I'm like, ugh, like total like 0% hit. It's just that it's on top of other games that I have already that I want to play more. And then I'm just getting more. I think it just boils down to that. I'm at a point right now, I'm finally culling some games for the first time in a while to make up for the games that are coming in. And I think I could do with less of that influx at this stage of who I am. But the last little bit for today is regarding the channel. It's not going anywhere, at least not in the long run. But I think I'm going to take a kind of strategic, I'm not going to really call it a holiday break because it's not nearly as like planned as that. It's just, I think I just need to take a little bit of a break. Since last May, have been on a weekly release schedule of something coming out. Sometimes they've been big things, sometimes they've just been something to get out. And I think it's been really rewarding. I think because the algorithm is what it is, I think the channel has grown more because of that. Obviously, you like to think that the content you're putting out is why it might have grown, but I also think that YouTube rewards regular output. And I'm just gonna take a break from that. I don't know exactly how long it's gonna be, probably about a month and a half or so. And I'm honestly thinking about other things I can bring to the channel. I am a middle school band director by day, and there are musical projects I have coming up that aren't only Root related, that I think I want to put some creative energy into, that right now I just don't have the bandwidth because every week is something that's coming out for the channel. And so I want to, again, focus on some of that, but I'm also wondering if some of that can't be here in the channel. I had a really great response when I asked, what if GivePause Hobby had some non-game things, specifically some musical things? And a great point was made by a great friend, said, it's not, GivePause Hobby, but only games hobby. There's nothing inherent. I mean, I've made it inherently about games, but there's no contract. I don't have a Patreon. I don't have, people funding this channel. It is purely passion project, and do what's going to be exciting for me. And I don't know if that's really going to happen. I mean, I would imagine if it was, it would be sort of like what I've done with the Root trumpet exercises, where I have a little talk about how this music came to be, and then I perform it. But I mean, the things I'm looking at are, well, a trumpet solo that has nothing to do with Root, something for band, like wind band, again, nothing to do with Root, but also an interview series with people in my life on the musical side that I have had an impact on me, or I've just been around at a time where it was a formative part of my career, who I am as a person. I think that'd be really fun. I have no idea if that's going to happen, but something that I've been kicking around for at least as long as the actual channel, GivePause Hobby. So we'll see. And in terms of the normal content that comes out here, I think during this break, I don't think I'm going to completely step away from it. Maybe film one or two things that, again, are reach the level to which I want to take a break from whatever it is else that I'm enjoying to do that thing, like what I'm doing right now this morning, and get back to the roots of that aspect of it. Not that I've ever felt super forced to do anything else above that. Whatever. It's been, I think I need a little bit of a creative break, might add some stuff into the mix, and also it's really draining to be working 1 to 2 weeks out, which is what I've been doing. I mean, most of the time I'm filming things the week that I let them out into the world, and that's just draining. I've never been more than 2 weeks out, and that has only happened a couple of times in total. So I maybe would love to maybe that could alleviate some of this aspect. If I can have 1 or 2 breaks throughout the year where I build up a little stable of things that aren't time sensitive, that can come out whenever. So then if I have a week where I'm like, you know what, I don't care about filming, I want to compose, I still have 3 more weeks of content that I can, because again, having something roughly weekly is important to fans, to the algorithm, to all the stuff. So yeah, anyways, Give Pause Hobby is just going to be taking an extra long pause after this video. And yeah, I mean, we will see what comes back. I imagine the first thing I'll come back is one of these, State of the Hobby, to let you know what's going on. Because something I was planning on doing last month, and then I talked about the friend conventions, and then I was thinking about doing this month, and then this whole thought process, like, I think I need to step aside a little bit. So maybe next month I can finally do it, which is the 10-game challenge. If I had to take it, appropriate for talking about, you know, bringing down my Kickstarter and GameFound, you know, purchases, if I had to take my whole collection, bring it down to 10 games, and that's it, what would they be and why? And the reason I didn't do that now, in addition to, you know, I think this break is going to be important, is I want to see of these incoming games that I'm getting right now, some of those could like knock off some other games that I was assuming were going to be on that top 10 list, and I'm excited to see which ones, and I will definitely let you know when that happens, if that does happen. But in any case, thanks for being here. I don't say this almost ever, but if you enjoy this, especially if you made it this far, like, subscribe, all the sort of things. It means a lot to me that people are watching and hopefully enjoying at the same time. If not, why are you doing this? And yeah, thanks for taking a pause with Give Pause, and we will see you when we see you. It won't be the normal week release, but hopefully when I come back, I will be rested and excited to be getting things to the channel on a regular basis again in a bit. So until then, bye.